to tackle the lathe bed now. Do you think I can carry this? Yes! I'm assuming the saddle will just come off here. Without bothering with anything. Do you think something will fall out? No. There won't be any gibs here, will there? There we are. Now I'm thinking that the easiest thing is to clean this down whilst it's still in the coolant tray, which is after all specifically designed for collecting fluid. Well, I'm just going to cover this in gunk. Of course, anything I'm doing here is purely cosmetic. It's not going to make the ways any straighter. Cleaning it off. I'm cleaning it off basically because I want to paint it. I don't want to paint it just because I might as well while I'm about all this. How I'm going to ever get this clean enough to paint, I don't know. But at least I'm making a start on it. I shall have to take this rack off, won't I? Well, this rack is retained as well as bolts. It's got these spiral roll pins, as there were on the mounting for the drive shafts. These are not really intended. You know, they're installed once and forget. Oh, but what I've just discovered is that these holes go straight through, and next to them there is another hole which also goes straight through this one. So if I could get a punch in there, a very short punch, I might be able to knock it out. So I found I could move this pin by putting a 4mm dowel in here. I'd rather have a 4.5mm one, but I haven't got one. And then to get it exactly straight, because I wouldn't describe this as practical, but it's working. I wonder if I can hit these with a hammer. Even a sideways on hammer might do it. Like this. Without hitting the ways. Yeah, well, that's definitely doing something. Caramba! Well, there we are. That's the rack. The rack itself looks alright, doesn't it? Just a little rusty on the back. Pretty sure this cat bed has never been out, because I'm having to excavate these. I've already done this once. excavate these hex sockets. Is it going to come off? Probably not. No, that one's not going to come. Oh, well, at least one of them came out. Jolly decent of you. Well, they're not that long. And I'm thinking what I actually need is something shorter than this, because this applying torque to this is just going to bend. It's too much is bending. Well, I've got those circumferences slightly cleaned out. So if I do this, all we're doing is bending things. I've just discovered this thing just kind of rests in there, so that's all right. I've taken those two bolts out, and those two bolts, and these two bolts, and these two bolts. So I reckon that the bed should come off the swarf tray now. So we'll see what happens. Whether this bed will be evenly balanced like this, I don't know. It's going to want to come slightly this way, isn't it? Yeah, well. Well, that's 129 kilograms. It's come cleanly off this pad, which is some kind of resin that was designed to bed it evenly, I guess. The other end, tailstock end, that pad is broken off, which is a bit annoying, because I'm going to have to reinstate that properly, aren't I? Yes, well, I might have bitten off more than I can chew here. Maybe it was not a good idea to lift the bed off this base. I've no doubt that this was ground before it was put on this base. So long as I can bed it down again gently, it should be alright. I mean, the only reason there were two reasons I took it off. One, because I wanted to pressure wash it and get it properly clean before I repaint it. And the other, because my idea was I want this lathe in my workshop, and I thought it would be easier to move it in bit by bit than all in one go. I'm beginning to wonder whether that was a good decision. Anyway, I've done it now, so we'll just have to make it good. This base is still stupendously heavy, even without the 130 kilograms of bed on it. I don't think I can, well, I can actually just lift it, but yeah, so Now, without the bed, this is manoeuvrable with two men. Well, I'm still trying to get this gap bed off. I'm hoping that this will do it. Yeah, this thing doesn't take no for an answer. This is where my inexperience showed up. Most people would have recognised that centre thing as the top of a tapered pin, and what I should have done is screwed that screw in order to withdraw the pin rather than unscrewing the screw. So in addition to these 3 bolts, there is this cap that I've just taken off, which I think covers a kind of, either it's a fat dowel or a fat roll pin. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, but also there is this bolt here. Yes, well, before we go any further, we've got to get this little grub screw out. This is kind of pushing the gap bed that way. Yeah, well, it was just pressing against that. I don't think it would have had much effect on the rest of the thing. You shouldn't need to use this wedge. Just screw in the central screw to free the taper pin, and then the whole thing should come up. Right, the last it is free. There we are. I think this is a tapered pin. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this without a disaster ensuing, but we'll hope for the best. I'll put this down like this. good. So that worked without a disaster. So now we can see the bottom, the feet of this bed properly. And this is the tailstock end. This is where the bedding broke away, leaving some of it, including this shim, stuck to the feet, and the rest of it stuck to the swarf tray. You see there are two shims here, one there and one there. And similarly, at the headstock end, the bedding broke away cleanly, but there are plainly two shims, one there and one there, which is contrary to the advice that I've been given on forums, that one should bed this on 3 points, thus ensuring that it's not under any kind of twist. But evidently Harrison didn't do that. Excuse me, Mr. Spider, you can't do that here. I don't really understand how these castings are made, because I thought there always had to be kind of sloping sides on castings so that they could be withdrawn, but we've got this cross bracing in here and in here, which clearly, if cast, could never be withdrawn. So I don't quite understand how to do that. Well, I've got to get this stuck bedding off somehow. I'll try a gentle way to start off with. It comes off, but of course, since this is 1/8 of an inch up in the air, sitting on bedding, it doesn't actually matter the exact flatness of this. It does not matter. Alright, well, let me get rid of this. On the back of the bed at the headstock end where the motor goes, there is some legend. I think these are casting numbers or mould numbers. Here is a logo which says L, it says RL, R with an L inside it, and it's upside down. The more interesting thing is this thing here which says 1386, which is presumably the casting date, and that makes sense because the serial number translates to late 1986, and the serial number that matters is the one on the back of the bed at the tailstock end. That one there, which says 174448. There is a serial number on the front of the bed, but that's not relevant. Well, I've got it back in the garage behind the bottom bit, and that's what the top of the swarf tray looks like without the bed in place. Well, I've got two 3 kilowatt fan heaters there, which I modified to bypass the thermostat. So that's going to give that lathe bed a warm up. I put whey oil back on the ways after carefully drying them, so I don't think they're going to come to any harm. And well, it's 2 o'clock now, so I've missed my lunch and I'm exhausted, but the job of cleaning that bed is done. Well, I've cleaned up and repainted the gap bed, so that is ready for reinstallation in due course.